Okay, the Rogers console shell is finally home, and here it is. This was a Rogers model 580, and I've removed all of the internal parts except a few things that I'll explain about in just a moment. It's a nice looking console, pretty good light medium oak finish. It has two expression pedals marked great pedal and swell. Internal speakers behind this black grill cloth. I'll show you those speakers from the rear in a minute. I removed the roll top, the top cover. Don't plan on using those in this setup. The only thing that I retained inside it up here is this amplifier. A standard Rogers 2-channel amplifier with its power supply and transformer. This little board right here is a speaker switching board, and I'll say more about that in a minute. But I retained those because they work beautifully. They're already connected to and mated with the internal speakers. The internal speakers are like this. Here is a view of the speakers on the treble end. There's a 12-inch Peerless woofer. It has a foam or rubber surround. I've checked it out, and best I can tell, it's in perfect condition. This is a Peerless mid-range, similar to the ones used in Allen HC cabinets, although it does not have a foam surround, so it's fine. And there's a little tweeter down there. This is a crossover network that serves both sides. Here's the matching speaker set on this side. The 12-inch Peerless woofer, the Peerless mid-range, and the tweeter. That hole right there is where the board mounts that interfaces with the pedal switches. The pedal switches will be remounted down here where they used to be. This little switch right here is an internal external speaker switch that connects to this little board right here, and unfortunately that board is going to be in the way when I mount the Baldwin keyboards that I'm using, so I'm going to have to move it. I'm going to move that little board up here so that it takes the place of this transposer knob. Here are the keyboards. I have two Baldwin keyboards that were recently salvaged from a Baldwin, I believe it was a model 540, nice Baldwin organ from the 80s. And these are those keys that we decided must be Loduca, whatever that company is in Italy. Nice keys. I like this action. It's not really springy. It has a nice feel, solid feel to it. And I've shown you before how we wired ribbon cables to the bottom of it so that each key contact leaf has its own wire in the ribbon cable. And this is the set of pedal contacts from the old Rogers. I took them off so we could wire them to this little board. This little board goes in the back of the Rogers console. It's an actual Rogers part, and the ribbon cable connects to these, which go out to the individual reed switches. This is the MIDI encoder system. It's an older device, probably 20 years old or so, but was in a pipe organ. So this has connections for two manuals and pedals, but it can be expanded. There's another, I have another whole set of these boards, so I could make it 3 or even 4 manuals if I wanted to. Here's an LED strip that will be my pedal board light. This is an old Allen antiphonal relay of a previous type, not like the modern ones, but I'm taking it home to use because it has 50 ohm dropping resistors on it, which should be perfect for dropping the amp output to headphone level. There's the pedal board that came with the Rogers 580. It's still in pretty good shape. There's a blob of the glue that fell from the keys during the glue melting crisis. Fortunately, the rest of the pedal board pretty much escaped damage. This pedal board has the old Rogers blue foam in there as upstop and downstop bumpers. Doesn't feel sticky, so I'm probably going to leave that for now. The organ didn't get a whole lot of use in its original home. Speaking of keys, here are the old keyboards that we took out of it. There's the pink glue, and you can see that nearly all of the glue dissolved so much that the metal inserts fell out of nearly all the keys. This manual actually doesn't look as bad as the other one did. This was the upper keyboard. The lower was just totally ruined by the stuff dripping out of the upper into the lower. Now I have the keyboards and the pedals in place, and here I show the measurements to make sure that it is placed according to AGO standards. First of all, the pedal board is centered under the manual keys. In order to make sure, I dropped a string from the very center of the keyboard, which is between the F and G in the middle octave. String drops down and hits almost precisely on the note E in the middle of the pedal board, which is the center of the pedal board itself. Also note that the sharp keys are supposed to be 8.5 inches behind the line that drops directly from the front of a natural key of the lower manual. So I dropped a plumb line here and I marked a spot 8.5 inches. You can see that it's almost precisely 8.5 inches. When I first set the keyboards in here, they were not far enough forward because they don't exactly fit this console. So you can see I moved them forward a little bit, and I marked the position so I would be able to put it back in that position precisely when I get ready to do my permanent assembly. Also, the upper keyboard is supposed to overhang and leave the lower keyboard 4 1/4 inches in the clear. I measured that with a square, and I marked the position here so that the two keyboards would be in correct alignment, and I'll be able to restore that when I'm ready to screw them all down permanently. And this tall ruler shows that the top surface of a natural key is 29.5 inches. Actually just a little shy in this example, but it should be 29.5 inches above the natural key on the pedals. There's the Rogers amplifier and power supply that I left in the organ. There's the way I had to connect the ribbon cable that brings the audio in to a standard pair of audio cables. There's a transformer. I tied into the transformer to get a switched AC outlet. The white wire goes to the pedal lamp, and then there's the power adapter for the MIDI encoder. Here's the MIDI encoder. I got it screwed down to the key desk, and I attached a wire right there to pick up 12 volts directly from the encoder, and that goes out to 3 separate wires that go to the 2 manuals and the pedals, providing them their bus voltage. The Dell computer, that is the core of the system, and you can see it has multiple USB ports on the back, as well as the audio out and the VGA. And then from the front, you can see the way it looks with the piano lid placed there to hold the computer and the music rack and the monitor. Placed right here for the mouse. The round switch is the speaker switch, power switch, that turns on the MIDI encoder and the amplifier and the pedal light. Those are the Baldwin keys, and I made a place right here for the computer's keys to be so that I can reach them for various functions. There's my pedal area with the pedal light up there. Down below in the back, this is where I sealed it up, and I put this box around the bottom of the opening where the expression pedals are. So that doesn't fully make this compartment airtight, but it helps. And over there is where I use some strips of paper and cardboard to hold the ribbon cable down that goes up to the encoder from the pedals. Here it is with the back panel now attached. It's a solid slab of thick wood covered with black cloth, and it more or less totally seals up the back, including the speaker chamber. From the front, having that back panel on improves the appearance somewhat because you can't see all the way through it and see how incomplete the front of it looks. Also, we'll need to put a filler here below the music rack above the upper keyboard and between the 2 keyboards. And then down below the grate, there should be plenty of room to mount a nice piston rail with about 16 pistons on it. That will complete the project, at least the hardware portion of it.